I'll call the City of East Bethel EDA to order, May 18th, 2026. First item,
A motion to adopt the agenda.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Second.
Thank you. We got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have an adopted agenda. Next, we've got minutes to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 20th, 2026.
Second.
Any questions, comments? No? If none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, where minutes are approved. All right, Mr. Look, we've got a market leakage report.
Madam Chair and members, I have before you here this evening a report that was prepared by Lizzie Sanders out of Retail Academy. I want to disclaim that Retail Strategies is the name of the company, but they provide a lot of different options for cities, and one option that they provide, or they provided free of charge, is a market leakage report. That was included in your packet here. What Retail Strategies does, by the way, is they will, based on this report, they have connections with different large retailers out there. You know, you think of your Chipotle's or Aldi's or people like that, and they have a hands-on or a allow you to do it yourself approach. And there's two different prices in there, and I want to be clear, I'm not advocating for necessarily signing up with these folks unless the EDA would like to look into that further. But essentially what they do is they will make those introductions for you. They will put you in contact with the site selectors for some of these large retailers. I'll be honest with you, just to try and find the site selector for Aldi is like trying to find a needle in the haystack. They're not readily available in terms of publishing their information, because they'd be getting unlimited phone calls, obviously. But these type of people go to the trade shows. They've established relationships with them, and they're selling that connection essentially. But what they did provide, I'll scroll down here. There's quite a few pages in here. Was a different assessments of East Bethel, and particularly the report they provided, if you've had a chance to look at it, is, I think, very interesting. What I will say is, I don't know that I can believe all of it, but that's not up to me to decide, right? I mean, it's a third-party report that essentially can be presented to retailers and say, this is basically the amount of dollars that are leaving this community and going somewhere else. And so if you were to locate within this community, you would essentially be able to capture those dollars, or have an opportunity to capture those dollars. And so the unmet demand, as they're seeing it, is $129,455,729. What's being supplied is $59 million of that. I'm sorry, $188 million total. $59 million is being supplied, and unmet is $129 million. So of that, it kind of breaks down into various different, automotive parts, accessories type of thing. They've highlighted some of the ones they thought would be particularly of interest for East Bethel. Your building material garden supply stores, that's $7.8 million of unmet demand. Your grocery store is $21 million is going outside this community to somewhere else, because there are no grocery stores meeting that demand in East Bethel. Food and beverage stores, they say $23 million. Health and personal care stores, maybe that's your CVS's, $18 million. Other general merchandise stores, $12 million. Full service restaurants, $17 million. So if you were a restaurateur and you were looking to potentially locate in East Bethel, you would look at this number right here and say, is that a something of interest for them to consider East Bethel home? Restaurants and bars, 35 million. And so the leakage report essentially is just that, what it is. It's the amount of dollars that are leaking out of East Bethel into other communities that have those stores or those services, and people are forced to then go either north to Cambridge or south to Blaine, or somewhere else to find it. And so based on this type of information, then if you were to work with retail services, they would start to zero in on the retailers that these are the highest numbers that might have interest in locating in East Bethel if they're in expansion mode. And it's an interesting approach to the work they do. But anyways, wanted to just present that. I thought it was very interesting information from an economic development perspective in East Bethel. I couldn't have told you before looking at this report that we've got $129 million leaving this city, that could be spent here if that retailer was located here. So, don't know that I have all the questions. I don't really want to speak on their behalf, but I just found this gap analysis, as they call it, leakage report, quite interesting. So.
Okay. Comments, questions?
I'm just going to say, I think it's very interesting information. I looked through it all. I would fear that they would try to bring too much into here, more than what we want. I mean, from looking at this, Aldi, it's good, but Home Depot and Crumble and a bunch of the other places we don't need here. We do need a small grocery store because the people are wanting it. We could use a coffee shop or someplace for people to go hang out and talk to other people. Mm-hmm. That said, I keep thinking that they built this water tower system, and they said, build it and they will come. They will come. If you build it, they'll come. If you provide it, they'll come. Now they're saying, now pay us and we will help them come. I'm like, just let them, if they want it, let them come. Let them know it's here, advertise it, but that's my opinion.
No, Madam Chair, if I can comment, I think that's what every report will tell you, is build it and they'll come, because that's the incentive to move forward. I can't tell you the number of reports I've read that that just make these outlandish statements, and there's really no backing for it. There's no proof one way or the other, but they make the statements nonetheless. I think what this offers you is the opportunity to pursue what you want here. In other words, say you want to, for example, I think Tractor Supply is going in down in Ham Lake right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. They printed.
If we had kind of crossed this bridge a year ago, say, okay, when Tractor Supply is looking to locate up in this area, and you got in front of Tractor Supply Site Selector and said, no, don't look down there, look here, and they said, oh, that's a better spot than down there, or whatever the case is, and you really want a Tractor Supply in this town, at that point, you might be able to help tilt that scale in favor of East Bethel, versus it kind of, organically going somewhere else. That's kind of what this offers. I don't know that, I will say that if it's zoned for commercial and somebody is selling a lot, and Harbor Freight Tool says that's the place we're going to be, it's kind of hard to say no to them if it's zoned for that. If they bring an application and it meets all the requirements of the city, if you say no, you can get sued for that. But at any rate, this would offer you more of a proactive approach to going out and pursuing who you want, versus a reactive approach of just kind of taking whoever comes. I'm not advocating, again, one way or the other for it. I just find that that these type of analysis, obviously they're going to do an analysis because they can sell you on that analysis, or sell you on their services based on the analysis, and that's their ultimate goal. What we do with it is, I mean, we could easily try and go and find Chipotle's site selector. I've tried. It's very difficult. I don't know if they like hiding their information, but very difficult to find them. You know, your Caribou or Starbucks, you know, equally difficult to find. And that's kind of having been in Anoka County Regional Economic Development. That's really the challenge they're having too. Is they have all this, you know, land from the different communities that have said these areas can be developed within our communities, but tying those site selectors to that land is a challenge. It's a challenge for some reason. And I don't know that even Anoka County has, you know, successfully overcome that challenge. But they have the information out there, which is good. But it's almost get in front of the site selector, be the last person in front of them type of thing, keep on them type of thing before a deal can be closed.
I thought their methodology was interesting to create the demand. Cell phone data, and I just didn't feel that the numbers reflected anything accurate. I mean, because when it comes down to it, the retailers, when they're looking at statistics, they're looking at median incomes, rooftops, you know, cars per day. So I don't know that the dollar spent demand is something that they look at. I mean, just from other brokers that I know, I mean, you know, Chick-fil-A, I've worked with all these people, and if you need help finding somebody for Aldi, just reach out to me. I mean, I know a lot of these people. Sarah Martin from JLL, I used to work with her. She does Chick-fil-A. I mean, we could easily put this list together. What we don't have is our sites that are available in our city. We don't have an inventory of what's available. I mean, we've got a link to LoopNet or, you know, MinCar, but it's not really telling us anything. So just my overall comments.
I agree with what Julie's saying there too, because just on page 9, if you look at site selection criteria, just under food and beverage, they're saying a minimum of 50,000 population required. Well, you're nowhere near that. And what are the rest of them requiring too? That's going to be willing to come here with. We don't have the people.
Yeah, typically you have your site. They look at concentric circles, 1, 3, 5, 10. You know, what's my trade area? Then they figure out, can I go here? You know, everybody wants a Trader Joe's. They won't even go to Andover because it's not right. And they're so selective. So, I mean, and these people are out here. I'm happy to make introductions and make connections, but just let me know.
It's good to know.
But $25,000,
That's per year.
yeah. I Googled, I know they had some of the previous cities that they worked with on here, so I just Googled some of them and what kind of outcomes, and I think it's kind of hit or miss. And I had never heard of this group before.
Yeah, they sit on the board of,
Are they tied in with EDAM somehow, or the,
I forget the retail,
ICSE?
yeah,
Okay,
they sit on that board.
yeah.
So whatever that means, it's, you know, they may have some influence in terms of directing people.
Yeah.
But at any rate,
Did they reach out, or was the city seeking?
no, they reached out to us,
Interesting.
That's their marketing, yeah.
growing their business.
You know, what I got out of this was, after I read this, the thought comes to mind that the EDA is here to help businesses invest in this city, to recruit businesses to invest in this city. Having been only on it a short time, there's not a lot of tools for us to use yet. I don't know if we have somebody visiting all of our businesses on a quarterly or every half a year, finding out what the pains are. If there are issues, what are the success stories? How do we help them expand? I mean, first and foremost, we have to retain the business we have and help them grow. Second, we have to find out, like Julie had mentioned, what sites are available besides the one the city has and the other one they're looking at. What are the available sites and so forth that we can put places on? We can take this information and we can build our own tools. And really, again, I'm not afraid to go talk to businesses and find out what's going great for them and what's not. I mean, that's kind of disposition, I would think. That's kind of what I've got, out of this. They got a lot of information. Where are they getting it from? This is information that we should actually know firsthand, so we know what's actually happening here rather than have an outsider come in. I'd rather go and talk to these people than someone else. At least we build good business relationships then. It shows that we're willing to help them grow or come here for that matter.
It's called the business BRNE. I mean, we tried, but nobody agreed to want to move forward with it, either on our own or, we need a task force. We need people. We need help. But, do we have that? I'm not sure.
My volunteer, Jim.
There you go. I'll write down names.
Task force would be great.
Yeah, it worked really well when we did it in the past, and I think the businesses were pleased and felt listened to, and we identified gaps of what people, obviously a lot of it has to do with hiring and finding employees. That's a big part of it, but what can the city do to help? And
Do we have welcome packets for businesses at all?
I don't know.
No? Yes?
I'm guessing not.
I don't believe we do. We don't even know, we don't have licenses for businesses. We don't know what businesses there are, when they come, when they go. Yeah, it's difficult.
Do we have a list of vacant buildings?
What's that?
Vacancies? Do we have a list of vacancies that are?
No.
So we don't even have records of the businesses that are in our city?
Nope.
Really?
Oh, I've got
Not unless they join the chamber.
Chamber, yeah.
I've got a spreadsheet
Oh,
from
yeah?
a couple of years ago.
Really? Is that
It's just
something
like
you
when
put
the
together?
cannabis place wanted to open up, and you look it up, and the address came up,
That-
Yeah.
a gymnast, or,
Right.
Gym place.
Right.
I mean, that's something we need to update too.
So we talked a little bit about, in the beginning, about possibly doing a business license for fire safety to begin with. If you've got, say, a paint booth, or something like that, where fumes from paint can be highly volatile, explosive. You need to be in there to make sure they've got the proper, fire suppression systems. We were working with one body shop that was resistant in getting that, but ultimately we encouraged them to get that. But that's what a business license would afford you, is that opportunity to keep those lists current, but then also be able to respond to the businesses that, that there's potential problems. The list you have might have come from the county, perhaps?
Came from Jack, because
I'm
I
not-
had offered to start taking a look at who was initially served by the BRNE and where the gap was. So, yeah, it's a long spreadsheet. So if we've got a summer intern coming in or something, I mean, it's worth digging it back up and just updating our contact list.
Definitely.
At any rate, that's all I have on that one.
Anything else on the leakage report? Well, it was nice of them to send, but
Yeah.
kind of steep and probably not a fit for us, I guess.
Yeah, like I say, I wasn't advocating for their proposal. I wanted to present the information, and again, I'll just kind of recall a personal experience. There was an apartment complex that did a market analysis in Ramsey, said that there should be 3 or 4 apartment complexes. You know, the market would support 3 or 4. And they built one, and I thought, this thing is so massive, there's no way the market would support 4 of these. No way. And long and short of it, they were going to build 3 more, but then they ended up leaving the city due to political reasons. And another apartment business came in and built probably 4 or 5, and they're full.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I equate that to is, I might have an understanding of, you know, what I think the marketplace is for any given business, but you really don't know what they know in terms of their market, and being able to do their market studies and understanding where their business lies. It's always amazed me that I shake my head thinking there's no way, and lo and behold, it was true. Lo and behold, it was true. So this type of information, while I look at some of it and I think that's a crazy amount of money, I don't really have a basis of saying that isn't true.
True. Yeah.
But is it overly inflated a little? It's possibly, you know, inflated a bit. But what we do know is in some industries, such as grocery stores, there isn't one here. So that is definitely leaving.
Yeah.
Whatever that dollar nut is, it's not being spent in this city, and other businesses too. So if you had a lot of grocery stores in the city and someone threw you a number like this and said that much was leaving, you might say, is that even possibly true? But we know for a fact that, you know, whatever the number is, we don't have any of it here. So so interesting.
Yeah, you think about it, at $200 a trip, and how many people in the city, and yeah, that adds up fast.
Adds up
Yeah,
fast.
and well, I guarantee if we had a grocery store, we'd get people from Wyoming, Columbus, Oak Grove, even Isani, even Ham Lake would come up this way because, one, the traffic is better. The prices would probably be lower than the stores they go to that are really close to them, like Coburn's is way overpriced.
Yeah, retail's tricky. Retail demand's tricky. Housing is a little more defined, but, you know, population and demographics, but retail's tricky, but.
And they do go off of the trips and the houses.
Yeah,
And, you know,
yeah.
those are the big items, and then they start zeroing in on the smaller issues to try and further refine their analysis. But rooftops is a definite top of the list important item for a lot of these site selectors.
Well, if that's the case, why does Isani have a grocery store and their population is less than ours?
They're drawing from other
We
areas.
have a big trade area.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's, yeah. And they chose to go there. You know, you've got a high traffic intersection, and, you know, retail's tricky. All right.
I got a note, by the way, for folks to speak into their microphone. Evidently, people online aren't able to hear real clearly
Yes.
with our system here. So, okay.
All right.
Ready for item 5?
Let's go.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying I've got good news and bad news. I'm going to start with the bad news first. At the last council meeting, the council approved a purchase agreement for this particular parcel. I will bring it up here. Let's see. I got away from it here. And this particular parcel right here. So the city acquired 1347 Sims. This parcel became available or had been for sale even before we acquired this parcel. And I got a call from the realtor. The realtor was looking to possibly put in a project that wasn't going to be a good fit. We started talking a little bit about the city might be interested. He had indicated that, well, we'd prefer to work with the city. I brought that to the council. The council approved a purchase agreement for it, and they have till the 22nd to sign it. And the best information we have is that there was a counter offer, and they were closing in 2 weeks or something like this. Keep in mind, this is a commercial property. It takes longer to do a phase 1 than 2 weeks. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, if they're just kind of taking the gamble that there's nothing on this, you know, in terms of unsuitable soils on this property. But at any rate, they're going to keep us in the loop in the event that that falls through. But the city is potentially interested in acquiring this property for the, you know, the whole connect the school with water and sewer project. And as you can see, there's, you know, certainly other properties here that, if they became available, could be a suitable option as well. The schools, again, it was in close proximity to the schools, which means it's costing less to hook that up and make that run. We were initially planning to utilize this land right here, which would require going underneath the highway, and that was an additional, I think it was ballpark to $2 million or something like that to go underneath the highway, just for the highway portion. So at this point, it looks like this property is falling through. We not sure how it was for sale for so long, and then all of a sudden, you know.
Something notes on right there.
Who's the broker?
It is Dan. I forget his last name.
Is it Wells?
No. See if I can find it here real quick. Dan Weber. Dan Weber. At any rate, we'll see. We'll see what happens on that. But in the event that does fall through, we'll need to try and locate a different property for locating a water tower and treatment plant, and hopefully one that's not too far away. The city owns this property right here, and that property right there, and this property down here. So again, crossing the highway underneath is going to be an issue. Sewer is on this side, so that's not necessarily the issue. Water lines don't have to be as deep, so that's not as big of an issue as sewers. Mm-hmm. But I will be working with Craig Yoakum at Hackinson Anderson to determine, you know, what's the next best location given this falling through. So again, the purchase agreement expires on the 22nd, so if it's not signed by the 22nd, it expires. So council won't need to take action to withdraw that. But at any rate, that's the bad news on that property. We're hoping to have a little better news than that, but that's where we currently stand on that.
Can you
Is
go
there-
back? Oh, sorry. Can you go
Sorry.
back to that map for a
Yep.
second? And go ahead, Lonnie.
Is there any chance the school has property we could put it on? Because they own a lot of vacant property. Don't they own like a bunch of wooded area or something?
They own
down-
all this, and that there.
Both those 40s.
Yep.
At one time, that one that's highlighted was slated for a senior high.
They're looking at, one of their plans was to do a bus garage.
Yep.
The one that's up in St. Francis. St. Francis wants to punch Bridge Street through to 47, and bus garage is right in the way. So they were thinking of possibly locating that there. They had inquired as to whether the city would be supportive of that. It would bring a lot of traffic down Sims, obviously, but that was one idea that hasn't formulated as of yet. What we liked about this property was this whole area then could connect to city sewer and water. And Keurig land here is within close proximity to that as well. But anyways, that's where it currently stands.
So the piece that we bought on the corner, has anybody thought about trying to acquire that little triangle piece so there's access to 213th
Yep.
Lane?
Yeah, I contacted the owner of that, and they
Okay.
want to sell it for $12,000 for that little piece. And
I think you paid 5.
he was the developer of this whole
Yeah.
area. Yeah, so I think he just kept it as a carve out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he anticipated the need to sell it at some point. So I forget what the taxable amount is on this, but it's not that much.
Say, Matt,
Yeah.
you had said there was, the bad news was there was a counter offer on this property. Was there just a separate offer, or was there an offer in already on this when we made ours?
My belief is that 2026 land value is $900
Okay.
on this. My belief is they pursued another entity to put in a counteroffer. You know, when I was, excuse me, my voice is fading. When I was taking business law classes, you know, somebody asked to sell something at a given price, and you offer them full price, you have a contract. You have a verbal contract at that point. Evidently, it's a lot looser than that in real estate.
Not in real estate, yeah.
So,
Nothing.
so the games that can be played are I would say bordering on unethical. At any rate, that's where it's at, and if the city ultimately needs it, there is a tool called eminent domain, but that's kind of the nuclear option. So, at any rate, wanted to give a quick update on that project. I will tell you, this one too fell through, and they came back to the table. So, it seems like it may be a trend in East Bethel. I have no idea.
So what's the good news?
Are we done with this? Any other further questions?
I'm good.
We'll hit this one first, and we'll talk about the bonding update. Are you ready for 6?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to give a financial update on the preliminary budget proposal for 2027 for the EDA. The levy is set at $136,200 to coincide with the expenditure budget of $137,200 for 2026. And the EDA will receive 2026 levy settlement and installments from Anoka County on July and December. And at the end of 2026, these payments will provide an approximate cash balance of $70,000 if there is no additional unbudgeted expenditures during the year. For 2027, the EDA and the council are required to approve and submit a preliminary levy to Anoka County by September 30th of the year for the EDA budget. The maximum statutory levy that can be adopted by the EDA is 0.01813% of the previous year's estimated market value of all property in the city, and that would translate, market value is $2,019,171,400, enabling a maximum levy of $366,076 for 2027. What is proposed is an EDA levy of $152,300. This is on the revenue side. We were successful in getting a $40,000 Met Council comprehensive planning grant and interest earnings of $1,000. And on the expenditure side, we look at a general fund transfer for staff-supported activities of $141,000 annually. Civic Plus website portion for EDA is $13,000. Time savers minute taking is $1,000. Comprehensive plan services for Heckinson Anderson would be estimated at $30,000, and comprehensive plan services with WSB would be estimated at $45,000. So if you add it all up, with the $70,000 that we have in there now, we'd be left with about a $30,000 budget. We want to bring this forward because a $30,000 budget, as we've talked before, doesn't accomplish a whole lot with activities that the EDA may want to engage in. And so this is kind of the opportunity to let staff know if you do want to go into an EDA levy of $152,300, or if you want to adjust that to account for any studies that may need to be done, or you know, Mayor and I were talking about the flyover, trying to find a suitable person that would be able to do that type of work. Or if you were trying to establish some dollars for acquiring properties in the future that might be pivotal to the work that we're doing. So that's before you here this evening to discuss.
So when the purchase of that corner on Sims, so that came from the EDA budget, or where does that money come from?
That money came from the general fund budget.
Okay.
So if the EDA had the dollars in there, we would be able to use those type of dollars for that type of acquisition,
Okay.
but there was not. I think the Sims was $265, if I'm not mistaken, purchase price.
Okay.
So
I have a question on the comp plan prices there. What have we paid for in the past? Because I don't recall it being that high. I mean, is there somebody else that can do it for less? It just seems like an outlandish price for a comp plan.
well, first of all, this is for the budget, so
Oh, I understand.
hopefully the expenses come in lower than that. I know that part of our comp plan that the Met Council wanted us to include this year is a portion on climate change. I'll keep my opinion to myself on that, but at any rate, we don't have that incorporated in our comp plan at all, and so we'd have to add that portion to it. Now, the question is, how much change is there going to be in it from our comp plan 10 years ago versus this one? I would argue there's not going to be a lot, but you do have to pay for, you know, review of it and any sort of analysis to be done by WSB or others, you know, and that's going to cost some money. I think the ballpark for East Bethel is around $100-some thousand for a comp plan. I think that's outrageous, completely outrageous. But it's something we cannot get away from. I mean, it is mandated, and every 10 years you got to bite the bullet and somehow put together a document that they're going to accept. Okay, it's not just putting together a document. It's putting together a document that the Met Council will accept. That's your housing, that's everything. And they like to come up with, you know, these figures that we think there's going to be X number of people that are going to be looking for homes in the Twin Cities, and every community is going to help, you know, solve that problem, you know, for housing. So everybody gets a bite of the apple. And you need to account for that in your comp plan. That doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen, but you have to account for it. So it's not cheap. Frustratingly so.
Mm-hmm. Like an audit.
Unfunded
Gotta pay for
mandates.
I mean, fortunately, they're giving out grants and we're getting $40,000, but it's that's maybe a third of what we're looking at. Yeah. Anyways,
So thoughts on the 152.3? Leave it as it is, or or add some? Or?
I'd say leave it as it is, because we really don't know what the total levy is gonna be in the future, and I don't wanna increase anything any more than I have to. I just have a feeling that, all these other entities are gonna come in with, they want more money for this, they want more money for that. And it's gonna cause us to have to levy our residents already more than I want to.
I think right now the sheriff's contract is around 4%, 4.5%, something like that, which is reasonable. Salaries are at 3%, so we've capped that. We've been getting excellent bids on road work, so that means we don't necessarily have to bump that up in the future for the budget to try and account for what we think the market might be doing. Given the price of oil, that's anomaly. We don't know. We don't know what'll drive the price of asphalt, but I'll leave that to Nate to try and crystal ball to figure out how he wants to try and plan for that part of it. But I think we'll have a decent levy year, but it all depends on a couple of factors, the primary of which is the $2.5 million deferred maintenance on buildings. That's an interesting topic that we have to address. And then future space needs. That's something also that has to be addressed at some point.
So do you need a vote on this, or are you just looking
yeah,
for
I
a
would-
recommendation?
Yeah, I would take a motion second on what you want to do.
All right. Anyone have a motion to keep the budget levy at 152.3?
I'll make a motion to use the recommended minimum 2027 budget levy of $152,300.
All right. Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. There's our recommendation.
Okay.
And then, excuse me, and we've got bonding update, or is there anything else on number 6?
Nope, we should
Okay.
be good on number 6.
Okay.
Bonding update. So just by way of history, the city set out on this project of providing sewer and water to the schools, and that came in at an estimated cost of $10.5 million. You've heard me talk about opium, other people's money, many times, and that is something that cities, I believe in the ask not, get not, and so we have gone to multiple sources to try and get these dollars to accomplish this project. It was reported not too long ago that Congressman Emmer successfully included us in his bill for $3 million of this project, and that's commonly referred to as an earmark or a high priority project or a community project. $3 million for that. We were working on the state here, and as you know, the state finished up last night, late in midnight, I think it was. They were required to adjourn by midnight. And one of the last bills that they approved was the bonding bill. And before you at your desk there is a sheet that has a highlighted amount of $3 million. That showing that we were included in the bonding bill. And what happens sometimes is, this is the request, right? Of this category, by the way, this grants to subdivisions for water and sewer type of projects, there's $409 million of requests. And we're number 567 for 3 million. And the good news is that that did pass and was signed by the governor and approved. So we received now $3 million from the state of Minnesota for this project, totaling now $6 million. And they asked us, I received a call late at night by Senator Barr saying, hey, what's the lowest amount you can take on this? 10.5 million. And I said, well, let me get back to you. I called up Craig Yoakum at Hackinson. It was 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I thought there's no way he's answering this phone. And he picks up the phone and I said, Craig, I hate to bother you. We just need to know, what can we ask for the least amount and get something done on this? And we crafted a plan for $3 million, and what that $3 million would do is help us build the treatment plant and the water tower. The second phase of it next year would be for $4.5 million, and that would be for the piping for the sewer and water to connect up the schools. And as we're told, it's going to be a new bill for next year that will require me to go down and testify for. But it's almost, air quotes, a guarantee in terms of the fact that it's a continuation or a phase 2 of what they've already invested in. Typically, it's better received than we don't want to get into this project at all. They've already committed to this project, and I have some surety that we will be in good standing next year. I want to give all the credit to Representative Peggy Scott, who worked tirelessly on the House side. I want to give all the credit to Senator Cal Barr, who worked tirelessly on the Senate side. And then the Capital Investment Committee, either chair, which is Mary Franson, or the lead is Karen Housley. Both of them worked tirelessly to make sure that it stayed in the bill. And what happens is, as I said, you start off with a massive list and they start carving, and projects are flying. They're cutting them out, and having people there that say, no, I want this one in here, this one stays, is imperative. And they did a fantastic job. I can't thank them enough. We actually, the Senate bonding tour came and stopped right out in front of Boat World. And we kind of showed them where the project would be and gave them a presentation on the bus. Then they went on their way. The House Capital Committee met at Hennepin Technical College and gave them a presentation there for the House side, and both of them were received well. I had 2 jugs of water. One was a store-bought jug, and one was water from what these kids were drinking essentially at that school, and I think that had a resounding effect on the need to address this issue. But as you can see, there's, of a $1.2 billion bonding bill, 400-some million is water related. It's an important topic in the state of Minnesota, and thankfully it wasn't kicked around like a political football like it's been in the past. And some people will say, well, bonding is bad. Well, on projects like this or road projects, it's actually good. On some of the pork that sometimes you see in these bonding bills, I can agree with them that may not be the best use of the state dollars. But on these type of projects where it's health and human services and preservation of health for kids in this case, I think it's a great use of dollars. So at any rate, that's the good news. So $6 million in this year. It's roughly the city of East Bethel's budget, but anyways, $6 million, and we'll be working on the additional $4.5 million. And I let Karsten Anderson, the administrator of the school district, know. He's ecstatic. They've got some serious problems over there, and they're excited that this has finally gotten across the finish line. So that's the update on bonding. Good people down there. Love working with them. So.
Yeah, great update.
It's nice to get good news.
It's important, yeah.
And Madam Chair, if I can just give a quick update too on something that's not on the agenda. I received an email from Anoka County Sheriff's Office concerning Nexus, and has notified us that Nexus has, DHS, Department of Health Services, has made the decision to suspend Nexus's care license immediately. Per the order, Nexus will have to discharge all the youth at the program within the next 14 days. The order takes effect on Saturday, May 29th, or when all the youth have been transitioned to a new provider, which comes first. The reasons for the suspension are significant, and the allegations are still under investigations with DHS. So, unfortunately, we've had some issues with that facility at a cost to the city, the number of calls that come in. And we've tried to address it with them, and sometimes their hands are tied by the state, and sometimes they don't have the funding, and sometimes they don't have the personnel, and sometimes. It's always something. But nevertheless, it's a challenge. It has been a challenge in the community. That's not to say that these type of services don't need to exist. They just need to have a different type of licensure than what they had in East Bethel, or what the state allowed them to have in East Bethel. A locked facility, or however they need to process this, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in that, but I do know that there's kids with needs, no question about that. But this was not necessarily a good fit in this community. At any rate, that building may, I will remind everyone that the city of East Bethel did a pass-through loan for that facility. There is no ramifications to the city if they default on that loan. But at any rate, that building may be, you may see another provider try and come in at some point, or building may be sold, or it may become available. So we'll keep everyone updated on that as time goes on here. But
So that's May 29th?
May 29th is the
Shutdown?
when it takes effect. The order takes effect on Saturday, May 29th at 12:01 a.m.
So that means they lose their license that day? Doesn't,
Yeah, so right now they're discharging youth, and they're suspended with the, the availability to move the youth out. But on May 29th, they're done. Now, they do have an appeal period, but it's somewhat indicated that DHS is confident that they will not be changing their opinion on this. So I'm not sure what occurred over there, but I know we've been having challenges with calls and bad behaviors and things of this nature that that have put a stress not only on our fire department personnel, but also on our sheriff response. So, and I shouldn't leave a line out. They're running over their quite often too. So,
that's
huge expense.
unfortunate. Yeah. All right. Got any good news to end on? City council report?
City council report. No, I think I think that we have managed to make some changes at the city. I know that we brought in Eric Johnson as a senior planner. Eric comes with a wealth of knowledge and training and background and education. He's a phenomenal individual. A lot of fun working with him, and he's done a great job so far. So I kind of look at it like a softball team. You've got every player plays an important part, and they need to be present and accounted for. And so far, we've got a phenomenal team, and responding to the workload that's coming. And I'm happy for that, because whereas if there's challenges, you're dealing with that. When there aren't challenges, you're able to focus on the work. So. Aside from that, like I say, I think we're going into a good budget year here, and that's coming off of addressing some pretty tough items, like fire truck replacement and things like this, big ticket items, and finding creative ways to pay for it. But again, the primary goal is to keep the budget as low as possible, the impact as low as possible for residents, and still meet the needs the community has. So that's all I have.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.